to be our leader. You see what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is, what's happening now? It was Danny Davis that pushed, that got President Bush to sign a bill talking about second chances. Okay? It's President Rock's responsibility to put money in that program. But there's all kind of programs that we all can get paid from. You know what I'm saying? It's simple. When we go back to the neighborhood, and if you see the shorty saying that he's calling for this block, and you seeing boarded up houses on that block, and you seeing how the grass and stuff is growing up on the lots around that block, you say, okay, sure, you're right. Let me show you how you control that block. You got these buildings, you get the address. By us being his elders, we'll go to the alderman saying, block, I'm just being hypothetical, block Monroe and Aspen. Got 10 abandoned buildings there. The alderman find out what bank owned that property. Our brother can go to that bank and say, I got 5 brothers that can take care of this property. They can cut that grass. And because that brother run that block, he can make sure that individuals ain't going in there and taking the copper out of there, because if they do, they violate his law, because he's now got the security contract to take care of that block. I created a whole profession as an urban translator, didn't know what the fuck it was. But because Aaron Patterson, you remember Aaron Patterson? Because when Governor Ryan pardoned them brothers, Aaron Patterson didn't trust the system. He didn't trust the state's attorney, the court, the judge, the police, and none. But he reached out to me. The judge tells me I got 24 hours to get Aaron an attorney. I tell the federal judge, okay, make it a court order. I got my GED in the joint, but I learned common sense, how to get into a system. Once they made a federal court order, now I'm in the system. Now there's a felon, but there's someone to aid an individual to get justice within the court system. So when I go find his attorney coming to the courtroom, and he tells the judge, he say, Your Honor, I need Mr. Bradley to convey to Aaron Patterson that he should hire me to represent him in the court system to fight the case that he wanted to be fought. In order for him to get a $5 million suit, that's what he got. He got a $5 million settlement. So the city's attorney said, why should Gator be allowed? Call the marshal. The marshal said, we don't want Gator sitting at the table with Aaron Patterson because it'd be a security risk. He's home enforcer with that, and G's Aaron with Blackstone Rangers. He's a leader. The attorney says, Gator and Aaron come from a subculture. We a subculture. Gator ex-felon, Aaron ex-felon. Aaron Stone, Gator easy. You know what I'm saying? Gator ran for office, Aaron ran for office. So they're part of a subculture. Now I'm listening. And he will present to Aaron what I'm sharing with the court in the analogy of a translator. Translate, okay. Brothers is from the Hispanic community. Y'all know y'all got to have somebody in there. You can't speak English, you got somebody to translate what you're saying. When they made us a culture, they had to have someone to convey this to Aaron the dude. I know you don't trust the system, but it's the only court system where you're going to get compensated from. The judge in the federal court told the city's attorney was tenor, get out the courtroom so that Mr. Bradley can convey to his client, Aaron Patterson, the importance of having an attorney to stand before this body, because Gator is not an attorney to represent your case. I charged him $75 an hour. Make no story short, Aaron get the $5 million. I had to sue him to get mine. And I did that. But again, I did it pro se and I got paid. I'm saying that to say the same energy that we put in to be about the business of slanging is the same energy that we put in to be about the business of doing what we want to do legitimately.
And hold that thought. And so we can put this in perspective. You know, back in the day, you had housing complexes all over the country. Robert Taylor, according to the FBI, those 28 high-rises that consisted of Robert Taylor, right, that was on State Street and Federal all the way to 55th, right, but really 54th. They claimed, FBI, 10% of all the crime that occurred in the nation was in those high-rise buildings, right? Gator runs for alderman in the 3rd Ward. Has, as far as I'm concerned, he actually won the election, okay? But how can you have, pardon the expression, from their opinion, this, one of the most sinister, diabolical human beings on the planet Earth, that's their sentiment about him. How you gonna have this man come sit in the city council and represent a district where 10% of all the crime in the nation occurred? But he got him out of those buildings to vote and actually won the election. So now they come back and say they were gonna do it anyway, but they said now we gotta expedite the plan and tear down CHA high-rises, because we will never have that happen again in this time. Yes.
So, what are you saying? Was that the reason why they tore?
That was one of the reasons that brought down those high-rises. They were already going to do it anyway, but that was one that expedited. Then number two, in the history of this country, they didn't care about how much drugs was being sold on the street and all this and that. But when they went down there, Gator leading the charge, 10,000 strong to City Hall in this city and said, you're going to recognize us. They said, okay, let's get the U.S. Marshal, the DEA, tear down the fort, take Larry and Jeff, put them under the ground in a supermax penitentiary, because we will never have that happen again. Only thing the man trying to articulate is that where you are right now today has nothing to do with where you can be. Because it's the same guy that went to the White House, sat in the Oval Office, and met with the President of the United States. And he just told you, he's doing his own thing now. He's been doing it for the longest. It's all positive. We ain't got to stay stuck, but you got to know your self-worth, and you can't keep buying into the okie doke that they feed you, because they waiting on you to come back. Those people got to keep paying their mortgage payments, their Escalade payments, their medical benefits, and they pay them off of you returning. Whether you're innocent or guilty don't make no difference.
Right. And you know, the thing about it is, this I'm laying down to you. We laying this down in 28 states. From behind the wall to the street, the same way that we did tonight. All y'all got to do is ask your parents or your grandparents, and some of y'all that may be 40 know how it was laid down. Okay? They allowed us to go bench them. He was right there with it. He got the tapes of it. They allowed us to go behind the walls of the state deal to meet with all leadership. Shorty Freeman, Larry had his people there, and I go see Larry and Vienna, and I go, all this document, you can Google it. All I'm telling you is right there. We went behind the wall, and we met. Okay, Gator, you're going to be the conduit, you're going to become the enforcer of the United Peace Play. That was enforcing the peace. Larry, I got it from Jeff, from Shorty Freeman, from Mr. Rico, and everybody else. And we put the little button together where we had everybody signs around the button. All we need to know is what block the problem was on. I go to that block, and one thing for sure, it was a GD on that block. They knew if it was a stone on that block, if it was a vice lord on that block, and that's how it went. If I went and there was no GD there, it was a vice lord there, and it was just stones and BDs there, because Jeff had laid it down, his responsibility was go let them know, you got to shut that down, or whatever it is. When they saw that them brothers had made a move, and all this hip-hop thing that they talking about, back in the 90s, we had Jay-Z now, Snoop, you know what I'm saying? We had all them. And we worked to show every organization how they can get $250,000 on a weekend without slanging nothing. If it was the BD's time to have a concert, the Vice Lords, the GDs, and the Stones known for be no violence. Anybody that disrupt that got dealt with by all organizations. Things understood and not being explained twice. The following week, if it was the GD's turn, the Stones and the Vice Lords, the BD's knew. The next week, when they realized how we was moving and we were showing, they saw that we were showing economics. When it came time that the amphitheater was up for sale, they all pulled their money together to go buy the amphitheater. They wouldn't sell the amphitheater to them. They tore it down. But don't be surprised when Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC, much money as he had. They told me he couldn't buy it. You know what I'm saying? It's about us. It's the people having to move. They don't study nobody but us. They got to study out now. They want all fathers. Yeah. They got all black fathers. They got 2 or 3 children. We give you $50 for us to tell you your business. Show me how you can make this work for the 2 women ain't at one another. And soon we found out how that works, we're going to disrupt that. You follow what I'm saying? Back to the matter at hand. With the social media piece, we put it out there so that our children don't get tricked by an older person coming out there and lying to them and telling them this how this go. The older person that's telling them that gonna be checked. Because again, it's them brothers that got them lifetime, they children and grandchildren. Then the nigga coming out these joints because he tatted up and telling them this is what you got to do. You got to go slang, you got to go do something. In our religion, and nowhere in there do it say it's mandatory for you to aid and assist the individual to commit a crime. You do that on your own. It's right there. It says righteous endeavors. We got to put this out here because soon as them young brothers that's 45 now, whose kids are getting killed, that have pulled away from the thing in the 90s, stand up and say, sure, everybody tell you stop this, then they come with this whole new RICO Act. You follow? Only in our community. It's gangs in every community. You don't hear it in Bridgeport. But the real mob there gonna go and tell, we to go get your son. And be all this slanging and shit that you got authorization to slang it, Mr. O'Rourke's garage might not be broken into.
Well, you know, they did that when Leonard Clark,
Right.
when Frank Peruso Jr., whose father was the head of the district council and the pension fund for the Chicagoland laborers. Hundreds of millions of dollars these guys in charge of. They ran the mafia down there in Bridgeport. You can go down there right now and see them. They down at the American Italian Social Club. Anyway, beat the boy unmerciful, right? So they come back, they meet with everybody, they say, hey, this is what we need to do. We want to squash this, don't have no racial people, whatever. The kid wound up with 3-4 years. He one of the few guys that threatened a sitting judge.
They told her to stop. They told her to
threatened to kill him. To kill the judge. They go back, the judge gets scared, he runs to Jesse Jackson, right? We need some help. These boys threatening to kill us. Now, these people crazy, right? They got the real money. Because their uncle was Rhodey, who used to be the alderman of the first ward, which is the downtown ward. Anyhow, I think they gave him like 4 years with
They
him.
give them 4 years.
He goes and they negotiate on the back end. So they reach out to Gator, say, listen, we need you to assist us in making sure that when this boy goes to the penitentiary, because he's going, that none of his head get ruffled. Which, how they made it happen, it happened. Dude go down there, don't nobody even say boo to him. And then they got him out early, and then he had the wedding down here at the Hilton Towers, and married into a family that had millions of dollars as well. But the point is, you and your children ain't gonna get that opportunity. So don't get it twisted.
Right.
If you're not astute and on your game and understanding the reality of what's going on, you just out of luck.
But you know, the thing is on that large crop piece and the Caruso family, that go all the way back to the driver of Tony Acala.
Correct, Tony Carter.
Go all the way back to before Capone come to town. But the irony of it all, when I was doing my bit in the 70s, you come through there, they give you a book of rules. And it says the first rule you should know is go to page 4. And it says in big bold black letters, obey the rules. I have 4 years and a day. How I got the 4 years and a day, I had a burglary, and I got 4 years probation. 2 years into doing the probation, I guess catch an armed robbery. The judge said, Mr. Bradley, ain't no witnesses, ain't no victims coming to court. I said, that's right, Your Honor. He said, but you violated my probation. I said, why? He said, because you was arrested. That's when I know that we can't beat a system that they created. So I said, okay, I got at least 3 months left on parole, whatever it is. I'll go and do the 90 days, man, because I'm thinking I'm going to talk my gangster. I'll come on out. He said, but because you violated my probation, I got a right to give you what the case called for, which was 5 to 15. He said, now you can take 4 years and a day for a robbery where the victim nor the witnesses are coming. Or you can do this 5 to 15. That was a math class to me. I'll take the 4 years and a day, because at that point, I'm seeing what they're doing, and it may be a 2-time loser. Y'all follow what I'm telling you? So I take it. Give me 4 years and a day for violating probation, 4 years and a day for the armed robbery, and put them both together. When I get down to Stateville, me, lad, who all of us there. And the rules say, okay, if you don't get no ticket in 12 months, you're able to go to the honor farm. So I end up on the honor farm. Still, at that point I became a wise gangster. If you 12 months to being released, you end up on Roosevelt and Damon under work release. On Roosevelt and Damon. If you got a job, you can move around. Caruso's. My father was plugged into what he was talking about as a black general labor foreman with the Caruso's, because they had the labor union. Father go to them and say, hey, my son coming out, he got to have a job. I said, I got into the construction industry. The rule books tell you how you got to pay to make life better for yourself. Bam, I'm hired, I'm out. Fast forward. Little Frank wasn't even born. Little Frank was the one he's talking about where him and two Irish guys jumped on Lenard Clark as he was over there stealing bikes. So all of us mobbed up and went over to Bridgeport, how somebody gonna jump on this black guy, you know. And I get a call from my old man. He said, I know what y'all getting ready to do, but don't go over there and have a picnic tomorrow. I got a call and said they want to talk to you. They want to talk to me about what? They were the ones that helped you, or helped me to help you in the 70s. That's why in our world, your word is your bond. Okay? Look, Gator. The Irish trying to make it seem like it was the Italians that were responsible for what happened. We don't care. We're going to take care of his family because Frank, stand right there, had no business jumping on this guy when the Italian community was responsible for helping Harold Washington and Reverend Martin. So whatever he got coming. I just want him to be able to have a fair trial. Because he knew the power of the Dailies. I didn't know that he knew. And that we just now seeing the power of the Daily family. You follow what I'm saying? He said, we can't win that in no form or fashion. They was going at the judge and they got the call somewhere, back up off that judge. And see, he ended up doing 4 years. But to give you the real story, I think anybody would have been a damn fool had they touched that boy when these guys come from a family where he's still trying to find Jimmy Hall. You follow what I'm saying? But still in all, for them to be able to reach out to understand that because he committed that foolish crime, he got to do his time. And so that it don't be a racial issue with individual that's in the penitentiary, they can go and jump on that board in the name of blackness, and then they feel like if Gator was there, or Larry was responsible for it, that's a whole different can of worms nobody wants to open. Today, that young brother, I got a picture. Now, he worked for the Secretary of State, Lenard Clark. Hair all over his head, pants up. You follow what I'm saying? That's what they do.
But, and then that's the point, and it's the same thing even more so now with Rahm Emanuel. If you thought Daly was controlled, Rahm's taken to a whole nother level of the game, and that's why I keep emphasizing if your game is not to that level, then you're probably gonna get ran over by the truck. But before I break for a second, I got George Salinas said he's an environmental and demolition contractor. George ain't gonna probably hire you guys because he done hired so many of y'all. He tired. He don't want me to send him nobody else no more.